ערב שבת קודש, פרשת תולדות תשפ"ד. ספר בראשית was sponsored by Ralph and Amy Sesson. These are family that helps so much the community, and Baruch Hu will bless them with a lot of nachat from all their children and baracha v'atzlacha in everything that they do. This week parasha was sponsored by an anonymous in honor of Yeshivat Moreshet Yerushalayim. Baruch Hu will bless him and will fulfill all his wishes letovah. Parashat Toldot usually falls on the week that starts Rosh Chodesh Kislev. And the Shlach HaKadosh in Parashat Vayeshev writes that all the events that happens has to do with the parasha. And therefore, we assume that there is a connection between Rosh Chodesh Kislev or Chodesh Kislev with Parashat Toldot. And we will represent a question, what is the connection? Another thing, in the parasha, we have a story about a fight that was between the Philistine and Yצחק about the wells. And the pasuk says, "Bechol habe'erot asher chafru avdei aviv bimei Avraham aviv sitmum plishtim vayimal'um afar." ויאמר אבימלך את יצחק, לך מעמנו, כי עצמת ממנו מאוד. Pasuk says, all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, his father, the Philistines, stopped up and filled them with earth. And here we have to understand why the Torah, and the Torah writes this, the whole story with the wells, around 7, 8, even 10 pesukim has to do with these wells. This was a fight between Yitzchak and the Philistines in the time and that time. What this has to do, why the Torah had to write this story and to give so many pesukim? The Torah is not a book of history. Another thing that we have to pay attention, the Ramban writes here, and he says, everything that happens to the Avot, this was a sign for the children. Therefore, says the Ramban, that you find in the Torah, psukim, long psukim, long stories about, and he gives an example about the digging of the wells that Yitzchak did, and other things also. And it looks, as the Ramban, as something that is not needed. But he says, the Ramban, that all these stories come to teach us everything, every story that happened to the Avot has to do with the future, with the children. Comes out that according to the Ramban, that the story about the wells has to do with the future. The pasuk says here, as we just read, that the wells that Avraham Avinu dig and the Philistines, they stopped them and filled them with earth, the Yitzchak redigged them. And he named them as the names that Abraham gave. As the Pasuk says, and he called them by the same names that his father has called them. This is in Perek Kaf-Vav, Pasuk Yud-Chet. And the question is, what's so important to give the names, the same names that Abraham gave? What's different about the name of a well? What does it do? It's not a shul. It's not a yeshiva. It's only a well. And another question that I would like to represent here. During the history, we find a lot of times that there was a fight about water. And everyone wanted to say that the water belongs to him. And here we see something very strange, that the fight here is not that the Philistines says that the water belongs to them. It's not a fight about the water. If the fight was about the water, why they stopped the water? Why they filled the water with air? So what is the fight here? So let's go a little bit about the Israeli history, and from this we will go into our history. Everyone remembers that around 1950, 55, 57, 60, 65, there was a fight between Israel and Syria about the water. There is a well that starts in Syria, and the water are going into the Jordan River. And the Jordan River is in the land of Eretz Israel. At that time, Israel wanted to develop the south, Beersheba, and all this area. They didn't have water. So they wanted to build a big tunnel or a big pipe that will bring water to the south. And therefore, they started to dig this tunnel in order that the water will go from the north, from the Jordan River, to the south of Eretz Israel. The Syrians and all the Arabs, they had a plan. They didn't want that the south of Israel will be developed. They wanted that it will remain like a desert. And they hoped that one day Egypt will enter Eretz Israel, and they will join to Jordan. They will cross, they will take the south of Israel, and they will cross the border with Jordan. And this will be an Arab country. And Israel, they wanted to develop the south with the water. Therefore, what the Syrians did, they wanted that all the wells and all the rivers that used to go from Syria and enter the Jordan River, they turned the stream into Syria, that the water will not fall in the Jordan. And this way, the Jordan will not have enough water to bring and to send the water to the south of Israel. And there was a big fight between Israel and the Syrian. And a lot of blood of Israelis was poured at that time. A lot of Jewish soldiers and Jewish farmers got killed at that time. So this was a fight about the water. But here the Palestinians, they don't want the water. They stopped the water. They poured the earth in the water. What is the fight here? Explains the Mefarshim. One of them is Baal HaKtav VaKabbalah. And we will explain what he says. At that time, Abraham Avinu, all the time, he spread godness in the world. And the same thing that Abraham Avinu, he had a tent. The tent had 4 entrances. He opened a restaurant in his tent. And he used to give meals to people. But this was a special restaurant. This was a restaurant you can pay and you can eat for free. Not that the food was different, the same food you got. But after the meal, when the person wanted to pay to Abraham Avinu for the meal, Abraham Avinu sent him, don't pay me, pay Borei Olam. Take the Sidur, if you can say, and say Birkat Hamazon, thank Borei Olam. If the guy did it, he got out free, didn't pay a penny. If there was somebody that didn't want to pray to Borei Olam, to thank Borei Olam, he had to pay. In this way, Abraham Avinu was converted. A lot of people, a lot of Goyim used to convert and to become believers in Borei Olam. Abraham Avinu, he saw another advantage, that he can spread God in the world. He paid attention that a well is a place that a lot of people are coming there. Everyone needs water. And we see all the shidduchim of our big forefathers were near the well. Yitzchak, Yaakov, everything near the well. Moshe Rabbeinu also, everything near the well. So Abraham Avinu, what did he do? He decided to dig in the ground to make a well, and he gave a special name to the well. What was the name? Every well that he did, he gave a name that the name of Borei Olam is being mentioned there. For instance, he called one well Adon Olam well. Hashem Elokim well. Kel Chai well. Such names. What did he gain with this? The people, this was a place that people used to meet. So he wanted to implant the name of Borei Olam in the mouth of the people. So every person people wanted to meet used to say, okay, let's meet today at Adon Olam well, Kel Chai well. In this way, name of Borei Olam would have spread all over, and he used to give the people water for free. They would have thanked Borei Olam for the water. This was the way that Abraham Avinu spread God in the world. What happened was, during the time, a lot of people started to believe in Borei Olam. Everyone wanted water for free, food for free, and when the Philistines saw that a lot of people are joining the movement of Abraham Avinu, they disliked it. So all the time that Abraham Avinu was, they couldn't touch Abraham Avinu. Abraham Avinu was Nesi Elokim. Everyone was afraid to touch Abraham Avinu. But after Abraham Avinu died, what happened was that the Egyptians, the Philistines, what did they do? They stopped the wells and they filled them with air. The fight was not on the water. The fight was on the names of the well. The movement of spreading the name of Borei Olam. It was not a materialistic fight. It was a spiritual fight. And this is what the Philistines wanted to do. Therefore, we understand that Yitzchak, what did he do? He redigged the wells and he gave the same names that Abraham gave. Because the names had something special. Every well had the name of Borei Olam in it, spreading the name of Borei Olam. Yitzchak wanted to continue the movement that Abraham Avinu did. Comes out that the fight was not a materialistic fight, and it was a spiritual fight. According to this, we will come here to Chodesh Kislev. On Chodesh Kislev, we had also a fight between the Greek and the Hashmonaim. The Hashmonaim, what was the fight with the Greek? The Greek didn't come to conquer Eretz Israel. And the fight with the Greek was a spiritual fight. There is God in the world, or there is not God in the world. This was the fight. Therefore, they wanted to stop the working in Mikdash. They didn't came to conquer Eretz Israel. And we see here that the Hashmonaim, they was a very small group that went to fight with the whole empire. From where they took the power they took from the first fight of spiritual thing that was between Yitzchak and Plishtim. The Plishtim and Yitzchak. Who had more people? Yitzchak or Yitzchak or the Philistine. Yitzchak had only his servants, very few people, and they stood against the whole nation of the Philistine, against the king, against everyone, and they were not afraid. In other words, the fight of the Hashmonaim against the Greek is a continuation of the fight that Yitzchak fought against the Philistines. Here we had the connection between the Parashat Toldot and Chodesh Kislev, and we answered here all the questions that we had. Why he gave the same names? What is the fight about? And we answered also why he gave the same names that his father called. Now, in Eretz Israel, there is a fight, a very difficult fight against the Hamas, against the Ishmaelim. The Hamas, they just came to kill. And this is what they did, killing. When we look in the Chumash, we see that Abraham Avinu sent Hagar and Ishmael because Sarah told him to do it, and Borei Olam also told him to listen to Sarah. And the Pasuk says, so Abraham arose early in the morning, took bread and a skin of water, and gave them to Hagar. He placed them on her shoulder and the boy, and sent her off. If we think Ishmael, he was a son of Abraham, he himself really didn't want to do it in the beginning. Only when Borei Olam interfered, he listened. So why he gave her only a piece of bread, only bread and water? Why she didn't give them much more? He was a rich person. He should have given them money. He should have given them food, much more food, not only water and bread. So I found this question in the Rabbeinu Bechaye, and I want to tell you what Rabbeinu Bechaye answers. Then he says, V'yitachen lomar, maybe we can say that he gave her, he sent her away with bread and water because Abraham had a prophecy that in the future Am Ishmael will hate Am Israel, and the hatred will be so great that you will not be able to compare it to any other hatred of any other nation. Means already Abraham Avinu saw already the hatred, this strong hatred that they had. Therefore, we will be able to understand something interesting, which was what I saw in the Chidah. The Chidah has a book which is called Chomat Anach. This is a book, Perushim on the Chumash. He had a lot of books of the Chumash. One of them is called Chomat Anach. And he brings in the name of Gurei Ha'ari, students of the Ari HaKadosh. And he says that we have a lot of converts that are coming from time to enter Eretz Israel. But he says, from Ishmael, we don't have, very few. And in Israel also, very few people from from Ishmael are being converted. Here and there, you may say that the story is being famous because there is one or two or very few. And he explains, the name of the Ari Kadosh, he explains that Esav, from the Christians, we have people who are coming and they are converting more than Ishmael. Why? Because Esav is the father of all these nations, all the other nations. He came out from the stomach of Rivka. So he was already in a Jewish mother's womb. Ishmael, it is true, he came from Abraham, but he was in a stomach of an Ishmaeli, Hagar. And therefore, he says, we don't have Geirim from Ishmael. And the hatred that they hate the Am Israel is outstanding, is something outstanding, impossible to understand. And there is a statement, there is a say that was said by the Chafetz Chaim. He says the following: it's written about Ishmael that the angel says to Hagar when she was pregnant that you are going to have a son. And the pasuk says, "Hu yihye pere Adam," he will be a wild man. Usually in Hebrew you don't say a wild man. You don't start with the. First of all, you have to start with the noun. You don't say, in Hebrew, you're saying, for instance, Adam Yafeh, a nice person. In English, you start with the nice, and then you're saying the person. In Hebrew, you're saying Adam Yafeh, Adam Gadol, Adam Chacham. In English, you say a wise man. And here the pasuk, as if he used the English way, Pere Adam. So explained the Torah Mimah, he explained that really the Ishmael is not a wise person, a wise man. He's not a man. His essence is wildness. And he appears like a man. This is the Ishmael. All his essence is wildness and cruelty. And the Chafetz Chaim, he said, if the Torah said it, so this will be always. And he said, even if you will see a doctor from Ishmael, don't think that means that he is a regular person. He is the same as the pasuk said. He is a wild doctor. He is a wild professor. There is no culture by them. And this, what we saw, unfortunately, lately, you have to know that the pasuk says here, when Yitzchak continued digging wells, and I want to read with you. The pasuk says the following: "Vayachperu avdei Yitzchak banachal." In pasuk Yutet, Yitzchak's servants dug in the valley, and the pasuk says "Vayachperu" in plural. "Vayarivu ro'ei gerar aleha," and they had a fight with Yitzchak's servants. Then pasuk כ"א, ויחפרו באר אחרת. They digged another well. Again, in plural. ויריבו גם עליה. And then, the pasuk says, ויחפור באר אחרת, ולא רבו עליה. In singular. Who did Yitzchak? כתוב, ויחפור באר אחרת. We're talking about Yitzchak. He digged, Yitzchak himself. Now, I saw in a book, Rabbi Hirschfarber, there was a rabbi in London. So he says that the first two wells, it's written in plural because the servants, they were not unified when they digged. Therefore, if you are not unified, if you don't have unifying, there is a fight, and you will not succeed. Then it's written in singular, ויחפור באר אחרת. They became unified as one, and when they digged it this way, as one, they succeeded. It was a big success. Now our soldiers, they have also to dig. They are digging and digging in Gaza. And Bezrat Hashem, if the nation will be unified, they will have Hatzlacha, as Yitzchak had when he digged. One unit digged. They didn't fight anymore about the well, and he had Hatzlacha. The same thing, if Am Yisrael will be unifying as one, we will be Zocheh to have bracha v'atzlacha. Bezrat Hashem, what the Am Yisrael wants to do in Gaza, they will succeed. Let's hope that Borei Olam will send refuah shleima to all the soldiers that were wounded. You have to know, it's a terrible thing. Soldiers are losing, they're losing, what shall I tell you? They are losing their legs, they are losing hands. It's not easy, it's not simple. And we have to pray for them. And of course, we have to pray also that all the captivities will come back home healthy and safely, and will be peace on earth, on Am Yisrael, in Eretz Yisrael, and in all the world. Chazak Baruch to Isaac Dweck, and also to Avram Shomer. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu will fulfill all their wishes in Letova. Have a Shabbat Shalom.